Hello, everyone. We're here. It's Tuesday. Oh, we got quite a few of you in here already. I'm just getting everything set up. I have some new workarounds in my studio, which I'm really excited about. I was inspired with my time off to kind of revamp everything, and I don't have anything on the floor now. I bought these cool arms that take care of, like, I had 3 tripods in here. I had a lot of different things that were a lot of wires. So I got wire management, a lot of tidying up. We have so many of you here today. I'm very excited about it all. And I'm going to say hello to everyone. It's such a big group already. We got Deanna. She was the first. She's in Puyallup, Washington. You know, Deanna, I used to live in Roy, Washington. I grew up on a farm. Pretty close to there. If you live in that area, you probably know where Roy, Washington is. My grandfather lived on Graham Hill. Hi, Judith. Welcome. You're in Tacoma. I lived in a University Place in Tacoma for quite a few years. What a small world. So glad that you got your Mary Artist order. That's exciting. They do such a great job. Francine, you're here. I'm so glad. Oh my goodness, I'm going to send you an email, but Francine and I, we've been talking about horses and horseback riding, and I actually went horseback riding for my girlfriend's birthday, and we've been friends for over 27 years, and her dream was to go horseback riding, so we went on a 2-hour horseback riding trip. I actually got to canter and trot, and it was pretty amazing. So I had a great time. Sore though. Hi, Susan. Susan Thames is here. So glad that you're here. Ari's here all the way from Panama. And Pam Duvall's here. So glad that you're back. I know you were traveling, so I'm glad that you're here. We have some new people. It's always fun to get new people. Paula's here. Luis. We got Malika. We've exchanged some emails. So glad that you've joined the community and that you're here. Magda's here. Oh, cold, wintry New Zealand. Boy, it's spring here, Magda. So we're in opposite realities right now. Cameron's here. That is my hubby. He's downstairs. We both work from home. It's been a lovely arrangement. So he's always here supporting me. So I really appreciate that. Peg's in the house. Welcome. Hi, Loretta. She's in California. And then we have Sylvia from Arizona. Judith. We've already said hi to Judith. Yeah, she's here. Kathy Turner, she's in Iowa. Welcome, Kathy. Karen Marshall, so glad that you made it here today. I hope you're doing well. We got Blessed is here. KS is Blessed. So we'll call her KS from Germany. No, wait, from Maine. And then we have Monique from Germany. Anika from Sweden. Holy cow, we got everyone all over. We're doing a trip around the world here. I'm loving that. That's awesome. Yeah, I look forward to chatting with you, Francine, more about the trip. You were my neighbor. I was born in Portland. Oh, well, I'm in Milwaukee, which is about 15 minutes from downtown Portland. Lisa's here. Welcome. Pamela Boyd from the UK. Janelle's here. And let's see, Judith says, hi, Dawn. I lived in Graham for 8 years before moving to Tacoma. I drove through Roy on my way to Olympia. Small world. Yeah, I actually grew up on a small farm, 8 acres, out on 304th Street in Roy, Washington. It was pretty, a lot more country back then. It's grown a lot because that was when I was like, 13 to 19. So it's been a while, and I'm 52 now. So... But it's such a beautiful area. Well, welcome everyone. So glad that you've made it. We already have like 40 of you guys here. That's pretty amazing. And I have some exciting things that I want to talk about. We're going to explore. This is going to be an exploration. And that's what I've been turning these lives into. It's not about a finished piece. And I think that's important because a lot of us are, we get into art and we want to finish those pieces. We want to get them done. And we really just want to be successful and have it look good. And I want to encourage more exploration and more play and things like that in your learning process because everything is really valuable. And I want to talk a lot well, a lot about symbolism, like incorporating some symbolism in your artwork, finding meaning in your own creative process. I think that's really valuable to kind of maybe be able to, if you're looking for something a little deeper and meaning in your work, this is a great idea to be able to kind of, find, customize it to have to work for you. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but what I'm hoping is that you'll get a creative nugget. I call them little nuggets because we can only take so much in, and maybe you'll be able to run with it. So I'm going to talk about that today. We got Katie here. She's made it today. Angie's here. Oh, I'm so glad that you're enjoying the Pastel Insider, Angie. Welcome to the community. It's been really fun. I've been stoked with all the new people that have joined, and the community is growing, and that is always really exciting. So I am glad so many of you are enjoying it. And I'll put the link to the Pastel Insider in here if any of you guys that are new to my channel. I have a lot of people that watch the replays. And hey, if you're here right now and you're watching, if you're showing up later and you didn't make it to the live and you're watching the replay, I love to hear where you're from. Put a comment down below, tell me where you're from, tell me if you're new to PanPastel or soft pastel in general, or you're just here to get some inspiration. I always love to hear from all of you because I know not everyone can make it here live. It's at a weird time. Right now it's only 1:30 where I live, but I had to make it a time where I knew I'd be able to show up. We got Martha here. Hello. Debbie's from Alabama. That's great. Yeah, exactly, Angie. This is exactly what I'm looking for, exploring my potential. And I want to give you guys the tools to explore different things and to really, it's not all about creating that finished piece. We want to explore and lean into what brings us joy and follow that inner guidance system that can really help in your art to lead the way where you want to go. Because we get these kind of preconceived notions of what we all believe that art is. And really, I believe that art is to heal us, to soothe our, soul, and to, give us an outlet to be able to be our highest 100% self. And that's what art is for me. And I find it very healing and soothing for my nervous system. And I think that's why I do so much of it, because it feels really good. And so you can see I have a little fish up here, this little goldfish. And I've always been drawn to like symbolism and animals and things. And a lot of times when I'm also very much an intuitive artist. So what's that mean? It means I'm just really following my inner guidance system when I get a nudge to go do something, or I get where I'm scrolling through a whole bunch of pictures and I will find, that I'm drawn to a bumblebee. Well, man, I was painting a lot of bumblebees a while back, and I didn't even really think of it at first, but that's what I'm loving about these lives, is that I can kind of share some insights, so maybe you could go a little deeper yourself. And what I started doing was I was painting all these things. I painted a lot of butterflies a while back. I got really into the whole birth of the butterfly, from its whole cycle. And then I started looking up and searching, what is the symbolism of a butterfly? And it's like metamorphosis and change. And you'll find, if you really tune into that your path will represent a lot of what you are choosing intuitively to paint or to create with. So you don't know, sometimes I don't know that is what's going on. And then all of a sudden I'm like, man, there's a lot of daisies going on in my art. Why am I keep putting daisies in there? And then I'll look up daisies and I'll be like, oh man, that's really spot on. And it can go as deep and as shallow as you want it to be. But I think a lot of us out there are really looking for our connection, a deeper connection to our creative process. And that's what I'm hoping here today. So I want to show you how a simple goldfish, we are going to talk about, some creative process here. And we're going to talk about, the colors. And we're also, I'm going to show you how I'm just going to get really loose with this and play. So I want to show you right here. that I initially drew this on tracing paper. I love tracing paper. I talk about it a lot in my lives, and I talk about a lot of it in my class. Now, I think they shouldn't call it tracing paper. I think they should just call it, you know, see-through paper. I don't know. Tracing's always kind of got a negative connotation, and I don't think there's anything wrong with tracing, to be quite honest. I think you can only trace so much, and what I've learned with showing up so much is that you will not have a satisfaction in that for as long. And so you might trace some things, you might want to draw some things, you might want to practice something, you might want to doodle, and maybe that's your style. You know, you can do so many things. So I love this for layering. A lot of the people that come every week, you guys know, but this is my favorite. It's the Strathmore. It's inexpensive. I don't really want to go into anything expensive. And I use this as my sketchbook. So I have hundreds of these. So of course, you know, do I want to just show up and make a goldfish in front of you guys live? I wouldn't even do the goldfish by myself without drawing it up a little bit first, like playing around with proportions and, you know, getting a few references and pulling what I like and what I don't like. And so that's basically what I did here. I really focused on the eye and had some fun here. And, you know, you could screenshot this if you want it for an idea. You can screenshot it and definitely play with it on your own. But I just wanted to show that I'm going to be using this as kind of my reference. And I have some ideas here that we're going to, you know, maybe lean into along the way. So let's see here. I got a few more of you in here. Martha's made it. Welcome, Martha. And Debbie's from Alabama. Francine says, the Pastel Insider membership has really saved my sanity these last few months. I agree, Dawn. Creativity is a vital part of my self-care. Thank you, Francine. And Francine, I really, really appreciate your testimonial that you sent me. I can't thank you enough. And a handful of you guys have done that for me, and I just really, really appreciate it. So I'm really grateful you're getting so much out of it. Pam says she agrees and that there's so much value on so many levels in the Pastel Insider. It's such a deep experience. Well, since you guys are being so sweet and bringing up the Pastel Insider, I'll put the link in there for anybody who's interested in just checking it out. It is $19.99 a month. There's no commitment. You can go in there, try it out for a month, see how it feels to you. You also get a guide, a getting started guide that's your roadmap to the whole membership. And there's so many different levels and things that you can do in there. Full classes, lessons. I have almost 50 lessons in there. This week will be 50, so I'm pretty excited about that. And you could try it out. So there's a link for that. I'm going to pin that. And then I'm going to start diving in here a little bit. Lynn made it. Welcome, Lynn. Stationary Nomad made it. It has been a long time. Welcome. Man, a lot of you guys here today. That's wonderful. Okay, so I'm making this goldfish. What I decided to do with this is I think it really speaks to people when you simplify things. And I'm simplifying, and I, you know, just Googled, you know, what is a, or, you know, you can use ChatGPT. You can use all your resources that feels good to you to use. And looked up, you know, hey, what does a goldfish, you know, symbolize? And it was really wonderful because I'd also like it symbolizing like it's our creative doorway for today. Like it's going to be our doorway to like just practicing different things and not putting so much pressure on ourselves. So, you know, they represent, I have a couple notes, they represent like emotional resilience, adaptability, and abundance in some cultures. And so they, you know, invite us to stay present, to go with the flow, and just to trust our creative instincts. And so I think that's fun. Like you can take that goldfish and put some symbolism in there and some meaning, and then the painting takes on a little bit more depth, and you can build off of that. The water, you know, it contains like emotion, and we have like healing and intuition. So the water can represent those things, and then combined, you know, a lot of times I'll come up with like a name. And now this goldfish isn't just a goldfish. It represents my own creative journey and what I'm trying to express. And so I don't want to go into a really hard, like, make it difficult. So I'm just going to show you how I'm just going to draw. And if it turns out wonky, I'm okay with that, because we're not really after perfection. And that's another thing I want to shed, because art can sometimes get you caught up in the perfection cycle. And my whole core is where I build structure and then I break it down into imperfection, where it takes the beauty of imperfection, and what fulfills me is I made something that's made out of imperfection. So it took me a long time to figure out that's what I was doing, but that's basically what my jam is. So I'm just going to go up here, and it's good to sketch something out first so you can get a vibe of maybe what you want to do. A lot of times, like I'll figure out, well, hey, you know, I don't want it to go, maybe I want to keep my goldfish in this kind of range here where, you know, I'm not going too big, so I can make some marks here. And that can really help out, you know. And I know that the body here is really like a little football. So if we get a football in there, we're already halfway done. And we don't really, you know, so I can go even with my drawing, you know, I could take this, guys, and I mean, I could vote. We could put the pastel on the back of this tracing paper and quickly just put some of these dynamics in here. I can show you that too. I think that is a lot of fun where I don't get too stuffy about it. That might be fun to do too. But I also want you guys to feel free about the goldfish. So I think I'm just going to stick with my initial thing and just keep it simple and draw it up here, because it doesn't have to be as perfect as that. So I can go and maybe map out where my tail and my body is going to be. So I'm thinking my body is going to go in between these two guys. And then I wanted a chunky goldfish, so I'm thinking my football is going to go into here. So I think you can see that pretty good. I can up the, it's in a -3, so just a second. So you should be able to see that. That's pretty good. Let me check on chat here real quick. It is Google. They put it, the ChatGPT is Google. It's mixed into all of the search engines now, so it's all what you want to do. Let me see here. Okay, thanks guys, always learning. Purchase the ivory UArt, but now I'm wishing I bought the black. Sigh. Well, you know, get a few things of the black if you can too. You're gonna use them all. And I showed you how to tint the background. I showed in a video, I think it was, maybe Susan Thames might remember. It was a live. Trying to figure out which live I did it in, but I showed how to make the black background, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was a few weeks ago. It wasn't that long ago. And it was the week that I did the rabbit, I think. I'm not sure. So I know a few back. I do show you how to tint that, and you can check that out. You'll probably see that on the header on the live. Maybe I'll put a link in here down below too if you're interested in that. Dawn just, oh, there we go. Luis is already on it. Right on. I love this community. Oh my gosh, Susan, you already did it. I should have read ahead. Oh my goodness. Well, we'll find it for you, Judith. It's just, you gotta, if you want to search for my lives, up above in YouTube, it says, you know, lives up there. And when you click it, then it will go to all the live streams. It keeps them all in one spot. So, yeah, but it was right before the rabbit. Yeah, you'll definitely, it's fun. Hey, Chrisella's in the house. Hi, Chrisella. Oh, we have, I'm going to call him Wolf. I don't know how to pronounce it. Wolf Seg. Welcome. So glad that you're here. Okay. So I'm just going to try, I got the top of my fish. I got the bottom of my fish. And I'm just going to go in here and lightly sketch this in and get it. And I might have to use my eraser, and that's okay. But you know, I don't usually love sketching on the paper. because it's not as smooth as paper. And so, you know, feel free to sketch this on the tracing paper, like I said, and transfer it. And we're just trying to get a basic shape here. And then I like the thickness of the tail. Maybe that needs to drop down a little, maybe not. We're just trying to make a basic, you know, a basic goldfish here. Basic, but still kind of chunky cute. So you can see how this is almost like an eyeball or a football. We're not trying to make it difficult. And then what I can look at is, like, you know, the body could maybe be a little bit longer. So I can expand that out, and then I can just use my erasers. And that's what's amazing about this paper. So if you want to be where you want to plan out a little bit more, you know, feel free to sketch it on a tracing paper like I showed you. And then the one thing I really liked was how I came up with this mouth. And then that kind of goes down into the chin, into little, maybe I'll move that out a little bit more. And every one of them is going to be a little bit different, and they're going to have their own little personality here. So I got this going down. And then we got some fins. So when I looked at the goldfish, of course I looked at some goldfish, but I'm not like stuck on like this goldfish has to look like perfect. Like, we get to have our, you know, sometimes when you're doing something intuitive, it becomes its own thing, and that's okay. And then it's got a little bit of a depth in the back of it. We can scoot that up maybe a little bit more. But I think seeing how, you know, you can adjust things, you're not stuck with anything. And then we can get this eye in here in the center, kind of up a little bit. Maybe I'll adjust the cheek, I don't know. Maybe I'll put the eye a little bit more back. But you can see how I love using my Vanish all-in-one eraser. Now I have the box here, and I'll have all the links down below. And Mary Artist, the link that's down below for my supplies, I have a whole page on maryartist.com. That link takes you to my art page with all of my favorite supplies. And Mary Artist also, I mentioned this last week, but I'm so excited about it. They got the larger UArt paper, which was the 12 by 18. And then they also got in all of the the Caran d'Ache pencils. And I'm really excited that they now carry those. They do open stock too. So I just got an order of those myself. So I'm just getting this eye in here, kind of playing around. All right, I got my eye. Maybe my mouth's gonna be a little bit more open. And then I got this guy down here. And then inside we have, you know, our pupil. And he looks a little scared right now. I'm not gonna lie. And he's a little wonky, but I'm okay with that. He's probably a little wonky because he doesn't have his fin in yet. So we're gonna go here. I'm thinking the fin is more in the middle here of his body. So I'm taking the football and I'm, you know, making that a little bit. I'm gonna fix this fin down here. And so we're just having some fun. I want the fin to maybe go up, be a little higher, and then it's gonna end down here. So we're just making a triangle up here. Didn't think I'd be much of a drawing class today, but you know, we're going with the flow here, what these lives are exploring. And now he looks a little sharky, but we'll be able to play with that. And then we have a little bit of these double fins that come down and they kind of flow out. And we can play with that. I'm gonna probably push those back because they are underneath the fish. So now he's got some, you know, personality. He's definitely, his eye is so, I think it's kind of fun. So on this stage, you can choose when you're drawing. You can see I played around with that here. I put, well, it's a little bright right now. That's why I did the darkness. So that's why I have to go up and down. Let me see here. And I always get confused which way it is. So you can see. So right here, I was playing with, you know, putting some bursts around his eyes. Putting some little whimsy marks, maybe just putting some fun scales in there, and then maybe some fun pattern back here and pattern up here. So you get to do whatever you want with that here. But let me say this, a lot of my students, they get a little bit intimidated in this spot, and sometimes they hear it and sometimes they don't. I'm gonna let this tail kind of like fade off. This isn't my interest. I also want this to be a little bit chill. I don't need that fin to be super strong. And I'm gonna brighten it back up. So the thing is that when you're drawing and creating, sometimes if you can just get the structure down, that's all you need. And then you can play around and go, okay, well, what do I want to do that could be fun? And sometimes it doesn't necessarily come to you right away. And so I do know if I put marks in early, then that is the jumping off point of the whimsical. So if you want to, you know, bring some whimsy in there, I put this in sooner than later. And that's because I want the black to show. I want that black under thing to show because the black is my underpainting. And having the black there, I don't mind if it peeks through. And this pencil works with the black underpainting. It's part of the creative process. Now, if I was working with red and doing vermilion, then I could draw it in red or I could have it in black, but you know, the black's gonna peek through. So a lot of artists, you'll see them drawing in the color, or maybe a darker shade of the background that they're using. That's basically what I'm doing. So I'm gonna check in with chat here really quick. I love his little bottom lip. It's so pouty. I know it's like sometimes if you try too hard, you won't have that little moment, right? Your confidence is infectious, Dawn. I'm still too intimidated to draw directly on the UArt. I draw on the see-through paper and then transfer it to the UArt. There is nothing wrong, you guys, because you are closing a gap. You are going from wanting to draw on the paper, from not drawing much at all, and that takes time to close that gap. So if this can be your intermediary, is that the right word? Intermediary. You get what I'm talking about. So what this does is gives you the confidence, and it doesn't take much just to transfer it on. And I don't really love drawing on this all the time, but sometimes when I do go and choose to directly draw on it or use my black PanPastel to shape things out, there's a magic in it that will come out sometimes. And I'm really into starting to lean into that more, but I have a lot of hours of painting, you know, underneath my belt to do that. Turn your light back up, Dawn. Well, I'm thinking I already did that. You got it. Thought it was nearly, I thought it was nearly a sticky note needed moment. Oh, I love that, Luis. Phew. Traveling back shortly. Traveling, be back shortly, lovely people. Okay, take care, Angie. So glad you stopped in today. So I got my little fish going, and, you know, maybe he's a little head heavy. You know, maybe if his body was a little bit stronger and a little bit bulkier back here, you know, that would help out with that. But, you know, I'm okay with it because I'm going to abstract this out and I'm going to show you how I just lean into that. So I can lighten up, let's see here, his whole flow here, like this whole fin, you know, can be a little bit lighter there too. Now, what I'm going to think about is I'm going to think about where I want my light to be. And that is going to help me create my next decision. So you can see why there's some planning in art can really help you along the way from a blank page. If you've done your drawing on your transfer paper and then you transfer it, that's already helped you get out of the blank page stage. And remember, you know, all of this can be exploring. Don't make the paper too precious. I erased 3 sheets of paper today of old things that were on it. This is from an old piece that I had going, and I erased it and, you know, didn't love it. It was a practice thing, and that's the paper I'm using. So what I'm thinking about now is I'm thinking about my light, and I'm thinking my light's going to come down here. And if I was doing focal points, this is about where my focal points would be. So focal points, I talk a lot about them. I have a 9x12 out here, I thought. Let me see really quick. I like to show it, but I don't think I have it out. But basically, it's a sheet with, you divide everything up into thirds, and then I talk a lot about this in my lessons and my classes when I go deeper. And this week's pastel lesson, I'm going to reveal it here in a little bit of what we're going to be doing, but this is like a warm-up taste of it. So I will share that as we go on a little bit. So I have my light source here, and then that's one thing I'm thinking about when I'm playing around with this idea. And so all of this from like the fish up, maybe this area is going to be the brightest because we're painting in water, and water, you want that depth, that deepness, that it's, you know, down below water. And I also thought it might be fun to put a bubble in here where, you know, it's got a little bit of flow to it, but I got to keep it where it's a little bit closer. And this is one of those what if moments. So it's like, well, okay, I got this goldfish. He's kind of interesting. And I'll start asking myself questions. Well, what if I put plants in there? And then I will think, well, what would make it kind of interesting and kind of fun? And it could symbolize, you know, a bubble of protection is something, you know, like we're protecting our, you know, we got the symbolism of the fish. So you're combining those things, and that can really help too. Because if you want emotional resilience and adaptability and abundance, you know, it could be like that. Or, you know, you can just be creative and you're just having some fun with the bubble. It's all how deep you want to make it. But symbolism can really, you know, play through. And I just like the idea of maybe having it in a bubble. So if I don't have it all drawn out yet, I'm just playing around here to get my proportions so I can see that that tail is probably going to be, you know, played with in a little different way. So you can see how I erased it, and I just have it kind of in a bubble. I also thought it would be fun, maybe what if, to have bubbles inside of bubbles, but then it's in the water. Like what if, you know? So ask yourself those things to create spontaneous, you know, ideas. And a lot of times I will, you know, sketch them out. Like this is a sketch. Oh, I hate it that I can't show you this because it's so bright. But when I sketch this, I did it in a way where I'm just kind of lightly doing it. I'm not fully fleshing out a drawing. My drawings are line art. That's what they are. I don't render them. So I never really render my drawings. I will render them maybe when I do a thumbnail and I shrink it down. I've showed that in a lot of my lessons. I can print that out, and then I can do a value study and kind of play with my values and where I want my lights and my darks. So I'll print that out like on a 8.5 by 11, but I'll shrink it down. And I do that a lot in my lessons. You guys have seen that. And then I'll print it out. So now we're just gonna try to loosen up and have some fun and be free. And so I chose a complementary color palette because you wanna keep things really simple when you're, you know, exploring and things like that. I also thought it would be fun where, you know, sometimes I just like to show up and play with the pencils. Now I find that the Carbothello pencils are a lot smoother on the paper when I'm working with them. So like right here is an example that I was playing around with some colors, figuring out what pencils I was going to use. But when you use this Carbothello pencil, you get a little bit more of a continuous smooth line on the paper. And you can break things up and abstract them in a really easy way. Now, if I'm using a Caran d'Ache, it's a really soft pastel paper. pencil, and it can be where it will feel different. It looks pretty similar. It has a little bit more skip to it, but it is a lot softer. So I don't always like going down with these first, but sometimes I will. And the pastel pencil will go away to a certain extent if you're putting it down first. So I got my little fish here, and I'm just playing around with like breaking it up and having some fun with it. That's what I'm probably going to go into here. I'm going to check my notes because I wrote some notes because I wanted to make sure I touched on everything. But using like basically the some of these basic shapes can allow us to just let loose a little bit. So I can even go in here and then, you know, start putting some different shapes in here. Maybe I do want the, you know, the scales in here. I don't know. If I don't like that, I can erase it out. So we're just exploring here, seeing what feels good. I can bring that into black if I want to, and I could put some more of those in black. And then I can even, I want a scale vibe, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like right up against the, am I looking at, you know, trying to follow some perfect goldfish? No, I'm not. And I'm going to really let some light do the work when I get in here. And this is how I kind of get my whimsy to you know, be expressed. Now, this one I might go a little bit, let me clean this up a little bit. So see how I'm just erasing up things that maybe to clean it up a little. And then on the top layers, I think I'm going to go and do this little jaggy mark through here, but I don't really want to do that on this layer. So, but I can play around with it. So I have a few scallops in there. I can even bring the scallops on the other layers. So this is where your creative, you know, personal taste comes in. Like I like to abstract things out. Just turning up my fan here and getting a little drink of water. But that's what I like to do. I like to free things up. Now, if you want to just paint the fish more directly, that's where you're at. You can just paint your fish. I'm trying to see here. Francine says, loving this fishy symbolism. Symbols play heavily in my creative process. Probably because I'm always ready to dig down deep when I come to the table. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I really try to find some type of symbolism in my art. And I think a lot of it can really happen like when you curate a lot of reference images too. You don't know that your inner guidance system is like drawn to something, and it could really be a big symbol in your life. Like if you're like, man, I just really want to paint a horse, you know, you can look up the symbolism of a horse and kind of relate to it a little bit. Let's see, I think I missed somebody. It said, you said hi to Sten. Where's Sten? Did I miss Sten? Oh, Sten's here. Hello, Sten. Welcome. Oh, thank you for saying hi to Sten, because I would have missed Sten. Okay, so sometimes what I'll do is I will just, you know, break up things with my pencils. And I wanted to make sure, let's see here. 1 second here. Okay. So I will just go in here and use the pencil to kind of just break things up and to get some marks in there. And I want to abstract things out, so a lot of times I'll just go in here with a light pencil. This might get erased down the way, but I know my light's going to be up here, so a lot of this is going to be darker. Now, I don't have all the answers here yet, so I'm just kind of trying to get a little bit of things going, and that's basically what I'm playing around with. I could even work on putting some lines in here. And I find sometimes my, pieces that I really speaks to me too are ones that I didn't really get uptight about. Like I just had some fun. So this is a Carbothello pencil. It is, I have my thing covered up, so just a second. Get my pencil. I have a little pencil sheet with all my pencils on it. I put those in a lot of my lessons. And what we're using here is the vermilion red, which is the 305. So it's an orangey red. And when I'm thinking of the colors I chose, I decided to use my complementary colors. And I think that can really help you, break things down a bit. Even if you use a red orange, then that would go into like a blue green. If you're using red, then you're going into a green. So I'm going to go with like the red orange and the greens and the blues. But even the blue and the orange, I guess that's what I mean. The blue and the orange is what I'm navigating there. So with that, it kind of helps me pick out my colors. It helps me curate. And then you see a lot of my work rainbows out. And that's because I'll start bumping colors next to those. So the next color against orange, is red and red violet. So I will bump colors in to kind of bring those in if I want. But right now I'm just trying to get this, fish going and to play around and get that kind of started. So the eye can usually be where the soul of the piece. So I can play with that eye and get that going. And I'm just using this. It is a 221, which is basically just orange. And I can clean up and make my pupil a little bit more stable there. Because goldfish have like a little rim light in there. And then I can take my black and push that out. And then we can use another orange to break it up, or I can even maybe go with a pink. I thought that was the color I was going to bring in, were like more reds and pinks. That could be fun. And I can just get my colors down first. I don't necessarily have to make all of those decisions on this layer, because if I want to change something, I can. That's the thing too. So I've been asked a lot about my sharpener. This is the M&R sharpener. I use the double hole one, and this small hole I don't use all the time. I don't even put a blade in there. I just use the big hole and then I line it up and angle it and then use it. And then that's what I use for my Caran d'Ache pencils that are really soft. And you just get to change that blade a lot. So that's the one I really like. So if I want my eye to be maybe a different color, I don't mind that one. I have this brighter one. It's a 191, and this is a Pitt pencil. And then we're going in where they still have a little bit of black around them. So I'm going to let that black peek through. And I have some and we're just going to probably make that a little bit darker too as we play around, because right now that eye is really sticking out. So we're going to use value to play with that a little bit. I don't have this is how tiny my little shadow pencil is, guys. I have that pencil I'm almost about ready to celebrate. And this one I like to celebrate about the supplies that I use, because if you're using up your supplies, then that means you're showing up, and that is huge, because a lot of us have a tendency to hoard our supplies. I mean, raise your hand in chat if you might have a tendency to hoard your supplies. So we like to celebrate when we use something up in this community. And so this is one of my magenta pencils, and it's almost there. And I have my shadow pencil, which is a 175, that is almost there. Let's see. Yeah, this is just a 9x12 because I'm just exploring today, Laura. Hi, Laura. Welcome. Did you sneak in here? Oh, you totally forgot it was Tuesday. Oh, that's okay. I'm just glad you made it. I'm so glad that you're here. Oh, we got some hand raisers that they hoard their supplies. Chrisella's been hoarding the Stationary Nomad. Remind me what your name is, Stationary Nomad. I'm trying to remember it. Pam Duvall is hoarding. Hulu, Kathy, I believe that is a board. Yeah, this is I mounted this, but this is black, the UArt Dark 600 mounted onto a mat board. You can just tape it. I mount all my pieces, and I have a video showing how to do that in my YouTube if you're interested. So let's say I went a little bit bright on this. I can use my shadow pencil and tone it down because my light, you know, is definitely coming from above here, and I can just get that in there, and I can still go over it with other colors, but I'm just getting a little bit of shadow in there. So I'm going to start, now that I broke things up a bit, I'm going to play around with the water around here and kind of get a little bit of mark making in with this. Now I really love this pencil. It is the 460 and it is a turquoise blue. Now we're going to be making some turquoise blue with the, this is the phthalo blue core, and then we can use the phthalo green, and this is the phthalo green extra dark. Now the reason why I picked the, this is not the phthalo blue extra dark. I want phthalo blue extra dark is I want my background to be pretty dark. So that's the phthalo blue extra dark. We're going to put that right here. This is actually turquoise. I didn't pick the blue light. I thought maybe for some reflections or something. But I can also, you know, just have some fun in here. This does not have to be structured or anything like that. I can just have some fun, get some color in here. I know my light's in there, so I'm trying to avoid going too heavily in there. But I'm just getting some lines in there, some loosening up. I don't know exactly where it's going yet, but I don't like to have my paintings all planned out. That's not as much fun for me. I like to play around and see, and I can use my darker blue. I think this is a 390. Let me check on that one. We have a Prussian blue here. That's going to go a little bit more in this. Yeah, that's a little bit darker. Let's see what the darkest blue is I have. I think I have the 760. And so the 760 is not on my list, but this is one of the darker blues. This is, I think this is way too neutral. It's almost exactly from the paper. So I'm just going to put that aside. I have another dark, which I think these are pretty close. These two, this is my night blue. This is a little bit more neutral blue than this 390 that I have. So I'm going to start throwing in a little bit of PanPastel, but I do like to break things up early, because if you don't break things up early, you won't abstract out as easy. So if you're interested in having more of a whimsical abstract vibe where you're loose, you want to loosen things up earlier, not later. And that is basically what I'm trying to show you today, is that, you know, we just have to make a little bit of that conscious decision before we get too far into the piece. I'm going to just get some of the fins here. And these were my bigger fins that I kind of have that I got to remember that are there. Okay, let's see here. Oh, is she asking about the brown paper? I missed that with Kathy. Let me see here. Kathy, what is the reason for the brown paper underneath your PanPastel? Okay, that's a great question. Yeah, it's for the glare. It's just craft paper all stuck on here. Yeah, if I did not put this on here, you would see the reflection of my window, which I have, you know, let me see here. Look behind me. See that window? That's all behind in my studio. So I have drapes up. That's my light. And if I did not put that up, then that's what you would see. Let me make sure I get myself back in here. Okay. We're about. So yeah, you would get all the reflection of that. I'm going to test out a black matte spray paint, but I haven't done that yet. All right, so I broke things up a little bit. Now I can just play around with some PanPastel and like explore. I was kind of thinking it would be fun on top of the head though, to maybe go and do a little bit of patterns in here. Because this is the brightest spot. And sometimes I'll just do circles and I'll use brighter pencils. So that was the Portrait Pink, which is my favorite. It's definitely a must-have. I have even a brighter orange. I don't know if this is the 52. Let me see. It's pretty bright. But if I want to break things up, I'm just trying to create pattern in here. And for me, I really enjoy doing that, you know, like I am all about trying to break things up and create a little bit more whimsy in it. And then, you know, maybe that lip's a little highlighted in here. And then I can put this in here. And then the top of this is kind of in there. So we're going to have our stripes in here. And we're just, you know, really starting to flesh out the fish and just, you know, let's have fun. Like, I don't know, am I going to love it at the end? You know, 95% of the things I'll work through are a lot of layering. So usually I'll get where I need to be, but they all don't always end up there really easily. Okay, so we got a lot of people raise their hand about collecting supplies. So we really, oh, Sarah, that's what it was, stationery note. I don't know if I'll remember it today, but I'm going to try. I'm screenshotting it right now, so I'll remember. I can write it down. But mine are mostly unused, Chrisella says. They're pretty. Well, just remember, we like to use up our supplies. I guess my point is not to make you feel bad for not using them. It's to try to start letting go, because I had the same thing happen to me, where I actually had all my supplies in their boxes. I never took them out. I had them all organized and stacked in the studio, and they did look really pretty. And then something woke up inside me, and I was like, you know, I gotta have these out if I wanna use them. And I started taking them out and putting them in containers like this, little, you know, I have a tray down here, so I use these trays. Let me show you, I'll grab one with pastel in it. So I have these stackable boxes that I get on Amazon, and they put all of my pencils in it. So I can take this, and then like behind you, you can see I can lay this out on my table, and then I can put these back in when I don't want to use them. So I have 4 of these stackables that I think have 7 on them each. And then one of the drawers is missing there, and I use that for my tray down here. So I started just getting my supplies out. And I also lost a lot of supplies when I was doing acrylic and mixed media, because I spent so much money on those. I was so scared to use them because I was new that I didn't want to mess up and waste them. But what I'm trying to change the mindset and inspire the community about is that let's shift that mindset, that perspective, because shifting a perspective can be really powerful for me, and I know for other people, is that let's celebrate that we've used them, that we've shown up. And if we have to buy a new one, which I've been doing this for over 7 years, and I really haven't gone through a ton of PanPastel, I celebrate when they're gone. Like these pencils, I've probably maybe used like 2 or 3, probably 3 of these in 7 years. So really you start to realize how long they last, and PanPastel lasts so long. Like even this orange down here, guys, this still has months left in it, depending on what I'm doing with it. So just a little nugget to think about, that what if, here we're talking about what ifs today. What if I celebrated when I used the supplies? So I have a few people that think the paper's expensive. I've been messaged this week from a few people, and they want a less expensive paper. And I'm like, you gotta learn on the paper that is going to serve you the best. I would say this paper is as important as a PanPastel. So if you're using paper that works with the creative process that you're trying to achieve, that if you're brand new, you want that core to be able to excel. If you are struggling and you're using something like a textured paper like Canson Velvet, I don't know what it's called, Mia Tintes. I've never used those. You'll get a lot of dust. You'll only be able to put like one layer. They're really for gestural and really like stuff that's figured out already. And you're gonna notice a huge, it'll make your learning so much quicker and way less frustrating. So that's a huge one. Let's see here. We got all that. Oh, complementary colors. Supply hoarding is a real thing. I think Stacy Wilder said she raised her hand in there. It is a real thing. I've definitely gone through it myself, and I have. PanPastel is probably the first medium that I've actually stuck with because I just love it so much. Realized you don't. It's so bad when you go into an art supply store and you realize you don't need anything. It's so true. Yes, having art supplies close at hand is huge for being more mindful about using them. It's so true. Oh, I hear that, ladies. It's almost that, yeah, the supplies thing is challenging. If you have, yes, you have to have the paper. It's made a world of difference for me. That's Susan. You took a little while to convert, but I converted you. Laura says, just like watercolor cotton, expensive paper is what you use to learn. It's so true with any medium. So I got my fish broken up a little bit here. I know that I want to put some light in, and maybe I get some darks in here and we play with the background a little bit. I have a darker wand for that. Let me go with a darker wand. Now, one of the keys to working with an oval wand is to wipe off your wand really well in between color choices. Now I can use multiple colors, which I will go darker with a dark wand. They always end up being dark wands, and then they graduate from being a light wand into a dark wand. So I will wipe these off. Now when you see me go out down here and I go out, I'm wiping off on a microfiber I have clipped to my easel here. I'm showing you one. I get them off Amazon. I keep them only for PanPastel and Pastel Studio, and then I wash them all at once, and they're just in my cycle. So they are really, you know, handy for getting your color changing in between. So wiping them off really good makes a huge difference. Hi Martha, welcome. Silver lining with pastel, at least you don't have to buy brushes. Well, you got soft tools, but yeah, you're not in the same boat with the brushes. I have to keep everything covered up or I end up with pastel kitty paw prints all over my house. Oh, Lisa, I'm so sorry. Pop some paper down, Lisa. You could have an artist kitty in the house. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, I love that. I know Michelle's had that too with one of her pets, or someone did. It was Laura. Maybe it was Laura. You guys had a cat with pastel on it. Good morning, Dawn in chat. Just rubbing the sleep out of my eyes and having my morning coffee. Welcome, Michelle. She's been here for quite a few since the beginning. And I'm so glad that you're here today. So you can see I've broken things up, and is it matching exactly? No. I'm bringing in I'm actually want to use the darks, the phthalo blue and the phthalo green. And I'm just going to, you know, piece together some of this in the background. Now I have a fin right here, and I'm going to just play with the idea of getting some of these colors in, and I'm using both of these because I want it to go in like a dark turquoise, and it matches that pencil. This pencil's actually pretty bright, but it does match that. And so I'm just going in, and what I got to do is the background needs to be darker so my fish will pop out. And so we're going to use contrast for that. So I'm adding a little bit of black because this is our brightest area. So our background, we're actually going to want it to be dark. Want it to be really dark. I'm going to put bubbles in later if I want to. I don't know exactly how I want to do that yet. I do have some light coming in here. I could wipe off my wand actually, and I could pop in a little bit of that. And I'm just playing with the idea, and I can even erase a little bit. I'm playing with the idea of this bubble having some, you know, reflection on it. And we have like lights, and it can go back and forth. We can put some more blue in there. So I'm just trying to explore here and see, get my colors in. And if you guys end up trying out something like this, I hope you will come and join my Facebook community. It's called Dawn's Creative Collective on Facebook. I have the link down below in the description, and it would be wonderful if you guys end up playing around. It's a safe community. I feel like everyone's really friendly there, just like in here. So I'm just laying down some color ideas. I'm not exactly sure where I want that to go. I'm kind of thinking if this bubble has light on it, I'm going to play around with that a little bit and maybe put in a little bit of light. And you have to kind of play around to kind of get, you know, those little reflections. But I'm thinking this up here is going to have a light source too. So I can go really dark where those lights are and see what that's going to do is create differences with even the bubble. So having the what if there's a bubble is kind of fun. And what I can do is that if I don't like it, I can always just rub it out. Like, that's the cool thing about it all. And so I'm putting some dark in there, playing around. Still feel like that's a little bit. It's a little bit more true to form there. Okay, let me check on chat here real quick. It's evening in Alabama. Yes, you're 3 hours ahead. It's only 2:34 here. I know, Francine, right? We've missed you too. So glad you made it here, Michelle. Yes, Michelle. Well, you're one of them, and a lot of you that are here today are the ones who actually make it really friendly. So I'm appreciative of that. So I'm just putting some dark black in here. I really want this to go darker, but I also want it to have that turquoise vibe. So yeah, I'm pushing some of this back, and I might go over the blue and it might not be there, but some of those initial marks are just to get you kind of like going, right? And we're just exploring here. So in this area, I have a lot of black that I'm using to just get that bubble going. And a lot of my shadow is also going to be down here, and I'm thinking that there's some light coming through and there'll be some reflection back here. So I can even, you know, get that blacks in there if I want. I don't have to have it have as much color. We got a tail in here. And everyone's goldfish will be a little bit different. And the you know, what this symbolism, you know, it can mean something different for everybody. You know, that's the cool thing about using symbolism. You can pick that maybe this goldfish here is for, you know, an entryway of my house to symbolize abundance. You know, he can be my guardian, you know, or the attractor of abundance. You know, you can create stories that I think could be really fun, and you just have to allow yourself to play a little bit. Now you can definitely, like I said, be really straightforward with painting your goldfish. It doesn't have to be as abstract out as I'm going for here, but I'm looking at my little drawing and I might erase some of those lines, but you can see how I'm almost like shaping those little fins. I have those fins coming out, and I'm using the dark to shape them. Now, am I trying to get all realistic and get all close up and make them perfect? No, we want this to be fun and playful. And people are going to be looking here. This is like your focal point. So that is what we're focusing on. And so now that I'm playing with light here, I'm using some values to really bring this area out a little bit more. And once we get some light on the fish, you're going to see how bringing the contrast together helps you achieve light. And I'm going to go a lot deeper into this with this week's pastel lesson. Now I have quite a few here. I have like almost 50 of you. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm going to go into deeper here this next week. And we are going to create what I want to create is a sea otter, and a sea otter represents play and loosening up and exploration and, you know, whimsy. They're a playful animal and they're going with the flow and all of that. And I'm going to go a lot deeper in creating, you know, light. Me personally, I'm going to do a guide. It's going to have a guide in it. I've done one similar. I can show you a little example of one of them. I didn't plan for it, so I have to reach over here if I don't knock down everything. But I'm actually going to focus on an otter itself, but it'll be different. But I'm just giving you the vibe. So I have like a little otter in water. And this is a guide, and that guide can mean anything to you. It doesn't, if you don't want a guide, you can just paint the water and the otter. When an artist is sharing their work, they're being, you know, obviously vulnerable, and I'm trying to express my own self through art. And so, you know, you can make it be what you want. So I'm going to be sharing, doing an otter. It's going to have a lot of light in it. This was actually before I really got into a lot of light. And so I'm really excited about the lessons this week. And so we're going to be diving into a lot more of that symbolism and that play and that mark making. And today is just kind of more of an exploration of it all and a little taste. So let's see here. Thank you, Michelle. That was one of my favorite. I haven't done an otter yet, so I'm really excited. And the otter is going to be swimming in the water, and his tail is going to be in there. And we're going to actually work with a different water, like we're playing with a bubble here. I'm going to show how to do that. And so that is going to be this week's Pastel Insider lesson. And I'm really excited to start that tomorrow. And it'll be a lot of fun. So let's see here. Francine says, sounds fun. I still need to do that guide one in your Pastel Insider, says Michelle. I'm trying to think. I have a few guides. So I have the one where it's the black PanPastel, which was the guide. I always like doing like, you know, guardians and guides. And that's the thing that I'm trying to talk to you about today is maybe mine might go more spiritual or more otherworldly, anything like that. You know, that's my own personal taste. But you're still going to be able to modify stuff like that in lessons and make choices for yourself that fit you, but still learn the techniques along the way. So it's all, you know, how we go about it. And so I love using animal symbolism in my art. You know, this piece actually, guys, which, you know, ended up, I didn't really have a plan for it. I'm going to show it one more time because oh, my light just went out. I'll have to plug that in. But at the time, you know, this ended up becoming me. I love owls, and this was my friend, and these were all my friends. And so they ended up becoming symbolism of my friends, which I really loved. And I didn't plan for that. And it just kind of happened. And I thought that was a lot. And it happened like midway, so I was able to pick, you know, animals that more represented them. But that's how I use animal symbolism. And, you know, you don't have to go, you know, where it's a spirit guide. It can just be a guide for you or just symbolism to how you're feeling right now and things like that. So I have my light. I just got to plug it in. I tried doing the battery today, and I'm realizing the battery won't last the length of a live. So one second here. As I squirrel, you get to hear me squirreling around here, but it won't take but just a second. There we go. Come on. So now I'm wondering if it's not plugged in. I wonder if it just died. Huh. I think I might have lost the light. Oh, there it went. Okay. I got my light back. And did I bump this? This is like zoomed out. Sorry guys for little technical difficulties, but that's what it's all about with being live. There we go. We got that. And we're getting there. All right. So I got the light fixed. It kind of broke up my train of thought, but I was talking about the spirit guides and just the guides and creating them and things like that. So just finding symbolism in your art and adjusting it to what speaks to you, I think can be really, really powerful. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pop in a little bit, wiping off my wand real good. This is my really dark wand, so I have another one in here that's like a step up, and I'm going to go in with some of the orange down here. Like maybe there's a little bit of light, and then we got the tail. And then the reason why I put that in there is then I got the other. So I'm going to just start fleshing out this section because I'm obviously not going to be able to finish this piece, but I can hopefully have time maybe to do a bubble and just show you where we're at. So now I got the fish here and I can start putting some colors in there and see. So this is going to show you, okay, I got that pink in there and I decided to put that, and you know, fish are, you know, really just more orange, but I want to whimsy it out. And so that's going to help me go pick a color. So like say I've got my red already in there. So I could go with keeping the permanent red in here, just so like if you're trying to do this color is pretty close to the pink right here. And thank goodness I have cameras now that I feel like are way better. Thanks to you guys for your support. So now I have the, this is the red light. It's the permanent red light, and it's one of the new PanPastel colors. So I can put that in there and work with it. Now, if you don't have that, you can mix that by using the red and the white here. So I will just mix directly on my wand, and then I can put that color in there, and it's the same vibe. So I can, you know, get some of those colors in there a little bit and bring some pink in. I like the idea of that. I can bring some of this, I'm thinking where light might hit on the stomach a little bit. I can color this in with a little bit of it, or I can even put the red down first. But on black paper, it's nice to claim your whites and your brights. So I'm thinking that there's going to be a little bit of light coming in on his stomach. Let's see. Hey, Michelle, thanks for cheering everyone on. If you're here in the live, it really helps out if you like this video. Michelle's always great about cheering the community on, and I've always appreciated it. And Luis and everyone helps out when Michelle's not here. So I really appreciate it. And if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe. Or if you're watching the replay, this is one that I would love. If you're watching the replay and you're at this spot, I would love if you left a comment. It really helps my algorithm and people to find my work. So if that's a free way you could give back, I would really appreciate it. Let's see. Okay. Oh my otters. I love that piece. I still think, okay, it sounds fun. It's the three animals. I think deer, bear. Oh yes, the spirit guide one. Yeah, I love that one. And then crow, Michelle. Ha ha. Thing. Oh, I don't know what that joke is, but yes, that's a great. Oh, Jonas is here. Welcome, Jonas. Hi, I'm so glad that you're here today. So you can see I've just popped some of those colors in, and now I'm going to start bringing in some of the orange, and I'm just wiping my wand off, and I could just start bringing in some of that light here. Now, I can initially just put a little bit in here, and then I'm going to come back on maybe another layer, and I can brighten it up as I go. But I'm just trying to get a little bit of like where my light might be reflecting. So I'm going to hit my orange where I think that might go, and I have some pink in there already. So that can really help me along. And I have these scallops here that I like, and I could play with some red with that, and that might bring the eye in and keep that kind of interesting. And it's because I'm using all these colors and they're together, they're going to start working harmoniously together because that pink and that red, they're related. And what the PanPastel system really helps you with is to understand how the colors are related. So you can see over here on my palette, I got that permanent red, and then that's the permanent red light. And they are connected. A lot of times we don't think, we're like, what pink is connected to this red? And it really helps exploring and adding whites to some of your PanPastels to see where that takes it on the, you know, hue and saturation and the value. Yeah, I'm so glad that you made it here. Your last painting was amazing. Jonas is a portrait artist, and he does amazing work. And Michelle, I saw briefly, so many of you in the Facebook group have been putting in some amazing work. I went in there and got caught up because I was out of town this weekend. But so many of you have been putting in the work. And Michelle, I saw your new piece. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I think it's a wolf, or yeah, it's, you know, that's something to go look up. You know, I know you did recently a panther, and you did the wolf. You know, what does that wolf symbolize? And then that could even, you know, go into, you know, what name you choose for your painting and what you believe in. Like a lot of times I'm trying to express our connection with each other and with the animals in the world. And I like to express the connection of that through my art. This piece right here is a really good example of that. I like to use energy and light to show the connection between the bumblebee and the flower and the pollen. And then this was to represent how I was part of the world. It represents, you know, our connection to nature. And so this was the sacred geometry. So I used a lot of symbolism in there to make the piece mean more to me. So I guess, you know, the other thing is just trying to like maybe make a file or write down in journal what kind of symbolism you're attracted to. A lot of times I'll write down, you know, intuition and, you know, your inner journey and, you know, things like that. So that can really help me, you know, figure that out along the way. So I like putting this pink in here because it's such a different color. And I'm going to try to get the face. Now I'm thinking with the face, I'm going to go orange, and I'm going to use the edge of my wand with my orange. So see this edge right here? I'm going to go in, pick up that orange, and this is really good to practice with your wand. And can I use a pencil? Yeah, I could use pencils too. But I like to try to use, and I can use even the shade because this is a little bit darker on the fish down here. So I could go into the orange shade or the orange extra dark. Let's see. I'm going to use the shade and then bring out some of it to make it look darker. And then you're going to get a fun texture, and it's going to bump up against that pencil and take some of the pencil away, but, you know, leave some too. And I'm all about creating texture. So you're just trying to line up with some things that you know you like, and you might not know what you like yet. So you have to try things and, you know, give them a chance. Like, how many abstract, you know, breaking up pieces like this have you done? If this is your first one, what I've learned is you almost don't recognize yourself in the piece. So I've thrown away a couple of pieces that I was on my leading edge of leveling myself up into something new. I was closing the gap in my abstract world, and I did a piece and it didn't look like me in the sense of like, not that it looked like someone else's. It was, I almost didn't recognize myself because I did something different. So let yourself sit with a piece for a little while if you are doing new things, because you almost don't recognize your own self in it yet because you're doing something different. So that's a real big one for me that I found was a huge lesson. You're welcome, Michelle. You deserve it. All right, Debbie, you take care. So glad that you were here. All right, I'm going to take a quick drink water, and then I'm going to start laying in some of these colors, and we're going to bring this fish out. I probably drink one of those whole things of water when I'm doing these lives. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of the orange and the red, and that's actually going to create vermilion. And I'm just going to bring that in here too. And then I got an underneath here where I might just use the dark. I'm going to use the dark because I want this to be duller. I want it to be neutral. And this lip, I'm going to load this side of the wand. Sometimes I have to rotate these around, but there's a little bit more of a highlight on the lip. And then I want to put a little bit of depth inside. So if I can't get that myself, I can go back in with a pencil, and I'll probably do some pencil work right there because I don't know exactly where I want that to go. And I want to go a little bit darker because my light's up here. And I can bring that orange back down a little bit. And this is where we could be flowy. We don't have to have these be really strong. It's funny how even though I still have done art for the last 10 or 12 years, I still get this overwhelming fear of I cannot do this. It does not look good. Then I keep going and it comes together. You know, Michelle, that's a great thing to bring up for chat today, because the thing is that I still have that too. I have it every once in a while, and I've noticed it a lot, you know, when I'm teaching and stuff. I will have one of those moments, but what it is you start training your subconscious and your brain to trust yourself. And I think coming up with like a mantra, like, you know, this is something new and I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to trust my intuition. And you start shifting it to stop looking, you know, a lot of times people have called things the ugly stages for so long, and your brain, that's what it thinks, that it's ugly and it's a stage. And it's really challenging to kind of shed all that. And I think we're just shifting our brain patterns and our mindset to think a little differently and be a little bit more gentle with ourselves, right? Like, I'm going to be gentle with myself. It always 5% of the time it turns out like this fish. I could be totally freaking out live that this fish is not pretty. It's actually, I would consider this the uncomfortable stage. I've shifted it, and I'm learning to trust myself. And you know that even the symbolism in the fish, you know, that's really, you know, strong. You know, being resilient, adaptability, you know. Gentle, abundance, all of those things can really tap into the fish too of the journey that I'm on when I'm actually painting it. And that usually will reflect in my name and the description for the painting. And I find that where that really helps my work get a little deeper, and it levels it up in a way that speaks to a lot more people, because I'm able to start to clarify what's going on. And that took a while, you know. So on this spot here, I'm going to make this fin a little bit brighter and a little bit bolder, because this fin is closer. Trying to go a little bit more in the orange, so I'm mixing that in here. And I can go, when I go over this on multiple layers, you'll just see how this will start playing together and how this little fish is starting to come alive. Tap in a little bit of red in here. And then I can finish this out here. I might put a little pink in this one. Really liking incorporating the pink. And see, I'm okay with all these little black spots peeking through because they're part of the process. If I did this on ivory paper, ivory would be poking through. It doesn't work with the pencil that I'm using. It doesn't work with the background that I'm using. I have to shift things when I'm working on the ivory paper. So that can be a big, you know, a big game changer when you're kind of going, why am I using the paper? So like Susan Thames, she's really been enjoying doing the underpainting at the color that she wants to do. Now with that, you know, you could even, you get where you put one coat of like vermilion or red on there, and then you can spray a light coat of pastel fixative, not other fixatives. And then you can play with having already a coat down of a color, and you could even draw then with like your red pencil or like a darker pencil, and you can draw on that, and then that brings that color through when you're creating. So it's a lot of it's just setting yourself up for a little bit more success as you are bringing something to life. I'm looking at this on my monitor over here too. I'm trying to get it. All right. So I don't have all the light in here yet, so I'm going to bring in some of the dark and get some of that in, and I'm okay that it's going to harmonize with the red. And I could even bring some blue in here if I want. And I have to get a coat down. Now I could go with even the red extra dark, and that could help me in here. So I could pull something on like this, and then I can bring in some darker red and even go in with the dark orange, and then they can play together, and we're going away from the light, see? And I can go over these with pencil to kind of bring them out. So we're using the PanPastel system to work with what we're navigating here. I got the dark orange, we got a little fin in here, and I can bring some red in there too. Maybe these go back a little bit. These are a little bit forward. So we got to get that first layer down so we can actually play with pushing and pulling things. And, you know, he's a wonky little guy, but I want to play with that a little bit more because I just feel like who I am comes out a little bit more sometimes. You know, it's like I like making something out of the unexpected, I guess. So I'm just using some of my darker oranges here, and I can even go in and just trying to get that first layer down here. And I'll get the first layer up here, and then I'll probably bring that up a bit, but the fin and the tail, I'll probably blend that out, and I got to get some of that red in here. I'm looking through the monitor here. I can put some black because this is darker. We're pushing that light a little bit more. And then all of this, I'm hoping, I'm just going to want to blend it out. But I'll have to play with that. And I can even use a little bit of my extra dark here, orange. See, look how bright that is, even though it's an extra dark. So I have to put some black on that and push it back even more. And we can even get, you know, some fin shapes in there. And if I feel like I've edited that a little too much, I can just go in with some dark, and that's going to blend that out. So the more we don't put attention over here, the more this is going to be brought out a little bit more, and I'm totally fine with that. So now I'm just going to go bring up the head a little bit more, and I'm wiping off onto my towel here to get my colors going. And I'm going to tap into a little bit of white here and start bringing in a brighter color. Now I could bring in the orange tint if I wanted to. I'm going to go in with pencil on that little striped part right there. Thanks for the hearts. And so we're not trying to get too serious in here. So you can see how I've put brighter colors up on the head. And I think that's going to really help bring this whole piece out. I'm going to go in here with some darker reds. And maybe some brighter reds on this, and I'll bring this up a little bit later too. Got the pinks. I might go over it with pink or the pencil, but you don't know what you're doing, where you're going to go with that until you start working on it. So I'm trying to let some of that black peek through. And the cool thing is I'm going to be able to go over this with pencil and make more shapes. So, you know, this is just the beginning, so you got to put something down to be able to build it up. So we'll be able to, you know, have fun with that and explore where we want that to go. So this is going to be a lot darker down here. I'm going to go with the orange and the red. And bring that up. So we're blocking in. We have most of our colors, and I would say my bubble here is, but I'm not going to be able to totally finish it, but you're going to at least get a start where you can see how to explore this on your own. And if you want a deeper dive, I'm definitely going deeper with that with the otter. And then we'll be able to push some of those values in and out. So I think I might just go around here with some black. And it's fun to experiment with the water to be able to kind of go, okay, water can be all different colors, and a lot of it's just about bringing light into it. So right here, I'm actually don't want to put the black in there because I'm going to put some light in there. So I'm going to work on that really quick by bringing some of the orange and see how I had stuff underneath there, but then I decided, well, I don't want that there as much, and I'm just going to bring in some of the light. So let's say this is where it's hitting. And it took me a long time to start really seeing light more. This is pretty orange, but what I can do is I can just bring in like an orange light or the orange tint. I can make a tint. This is the orange light, which is the new color, so you just mix that with white. I usually just screw them on here. This is on there pretty good. And I can just bring up some of the highlights in here. Now you can just do this by adding white if you want, but I'm just going to add a little bit. And then my idea for the what if was, what if he was in a bubble? So I'm standing back here looking at my bubble, and I'm like, you know, is it the idea of the bubble? Is it working? Is it coming through a little bit? I can actually just put this on the end, and then I can use my orange here, so I can just look back, and I'm looking on my camera over here, And a lot of it's just hitting some reflections in there. And so let's see, we're going to go dark. I'm going to put the black in here. And I'm just going to isolate it. So we've got this like fun idea, the what if, we're playing around with it. I think it's fun to maybe even put use the light. And then I can kind of bokeh it a little bit. We're trying to get like an underwater kind of vibe. And I think I'm going to go in and bring out some of the darkness of the fish a little bit. So I'm going to take the black and I'm going to go in here and shift some of the value. I'm thinking that, you know, if I did a little value study first, which I didn't do, but if I did, I could, you know, work this out a little bit more. But I'm just trying to play and have some fun here today. I'm not trying to get too serious. I like how these fins just kind of maybe dissipate into the piece. This area is a little bit darker. I'm thinking if the light's hitting it. Looking on the monitor. So you see how that's kind of bringing the light out a little bit, and then I'll be able to refine this a little bit more. Now, I could use fun stuff for the tail. I can even erase in the tail and get some textures in there. I can use pencils. It just depends what I'm after and how I want that to look. I'm going to check up on chat here. Hey, Pamela, take care. Yeah, I bet it's really late there. I really got caught up in the painting for a little while, Michelle, so I went on my little rant about that. I just need to think I can change it. So I think I gave you some good ideas about that, Michelle. It's definitely a journey. I keep trying to say to myself, art is subjective, and what one person likes, another may not, and there's no right, and it's what you like that matters. That's so true. I have been on that journey where, you know, I really have to stay true to myself here, and I sometimes will be like, well, some people aren't going to like it, and that's okay because art is subjective. And I'm not a traditional painter. So, but I'm going to attract the people that are meant to come here. And I have to remember that. And I keep telling myself stuff like that. So, you know, it's a journey because I think the other thing with being an artist is that it's very vulnerable. You're sharing a part of yourself that a lot of people, you know, if you decide to put it out in the world, a lot of people don't share that part of themselves because, you know, art has, you know, part of our essence and our energy into it. And if we feel a little bit judged or critiqued, that can be really challenging, or we're worried about that. So it's definitely a journey, and I think we have to just follow our joy for sure. So you can see how I'm at this stage where I can start laying some pencils in, and I can even put some patterns and things like that. Maybe I just put them in a little bit, and then once I get going, I'll put them in some more. So like that pencil was like the 215, which is the Indian yellow, and then I can bring in some more orange. So I'm starting to, you know, I built up a foundation with the light there that I can now kind of play off of. And before, I can't believe it's 3:12 already. Like, that's literally crazy to me. But what I'm hoping to do is that this is just going to inspire you to just to play and really think about some symbolism and how you can incorporate that a little bit more in your own ideas and understand where I kind of come from too. Like, that's how I roll, you know, I'm playing with that symbolism in my art. And then I can go and take, this is what I like. I like that the pencils and stuff that I'm layering with them. So I got these pencils in here. I can bring out some more of these lines. And this is the Scarlet. I was using the 305, which is the vermilion. I can go back in there. I can bring these lines back out if I want. I can break them up. And I'll show how I kind of, and I can start bringing some pattern in. And I can rotate with the orange. So I'm just really trying to go away with today with the idea that you can really play around, and if you think of light and you get this basic structure of a goldfish, you can really make it into something that is more meaningful than you would have thought, because it's just a goldfish. And so that's pretty much my main point for today, is that don't try to make it so difficult. Like, you can take a basic shape of something and play around and explore and give yourself permission to play and explore. You don't always have to make a full painting. So I'm thinking, like, it would be fun, like, what if, you know, I put a bubble in here. I can erase that out a little bit. Bubbles are pretty cool. You could do some fun stuff with a bubble. I can just use a blue pencil. I'm trying to think of, like, I can go with a gray. I think maybe even a turquoise pencil would work, like this light blue. And you can put in some bubbles here. And bubbles are really more about, like, reflection. So, you know, when you're putting bubbles in, you can get some of those reflections in there. And you could have some fun with just playing with that. And then I can take the darker pencil. This is the 390. And then I can put some little white highlights on the bubble. And even actually use orange because we have our light coming through. So we could put a whole bunch of bubbles in there. That could be really fun. And then I could start looking at, like, what am I liking about this? I kind of like some of these little holes in the bubbles and things like that. I can push these this tail back a little bit more by using dark, and maybe, you know, shape it up a little bit or push it back. And then for here, I really wanted to put like a, You can start putting some pattern in here. And then we have a little bit of maybe the light will hit off of this little area. This is a really pretty color. It's called Flame Red and it's a 50. And we have our little tail here. It might have a little bit more coming out right there. Put some mark making in here. And then I don't know if I want to put a reflection on the eye for this one. I have this pink light. I think I might just go like this. If I hit a reflection, let's see. It's not too bad. I think the reflection actually isn't, maybe I'll hit that with a white. Because their whole eye is kind of shiny there. And then I could even put that black back if it's gone too big. And, you know, we can even start putting some specks in there. You know, I'm just trying to whimsy it out and have some fun here. And am I finished? You know, is this the finishing touch? You know, I don't know if I'll go back and scribble over it. It's just, you know, I'm having fun. And that's what I want to encourage you guys is to play. Now I will notice something that I'll tell you, that I think the bubble right now where it's at is competing with the eye. And so, you know, you got to see what a bubble was like. Maybe I don't want a bubble there. Maybe I want smaller bubbles that aren't as, you know, in your face and so strong. So I just erased the bubble. Now look at the piece and your eye isn't going towards the bubble. So that is kind of where you just kind of play around and, you know, you're like, I would probably work with this tail a little bit more and flesh all that out, see what I want to do with that. But you don't know what you want to do until you're going along. I could put a little highlight on this fin down here. It's just fun. I hope today I've inspired you maybe to incorporate a little bit more symbolism in your artwork, to explore a little bit more, and, you know, just play. And I don't know if this will be my favorite painting or anything. I'm just trying to play around and see what it feels like. And a lot of times it'll turn out, and sometimes these pieces are ones that people like the most, and I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't really love that, but I just find them a lot of fun. I can bring in some more highlights to the bubble with the teal. This is the turquoise. And I can tone that down a bit if I feel like it's too much. But yeah, I just will go back and forth and have some fun here. I could bring out this fin a little bit more. And like this could fade back a little bit more. It's like I'm just having where I don't know exactly everything. You know, I like leaving a little bit of mystery in my piece for the idea of being able to explore the unknown. And the drawing and getting the basic structure down really helps me with the confidence to be able to kind of not know everything that I'm doing. So I kind of like personally want these fins to kind of blend in a little bit, and then I could bring maybe some detail into this fin for, say, you know, that's kind of a bright color. I could even bring a shadow pencil in, bring some of these in, and then I can knock it down. And that's going to put some texture in there. And then I go, oh, I like that. Then I'm going to do that a little bit more in here. Like I feel like this core needs to be worked on. Like I could play with that. And I just, you know, since we're going to be wrapping up a little bit, I'm not going to really focus too much on the tail because it's not really where we're at for the whole piece. But I could definitely spend some time kind of playing with that. And I think it just really needs some dark, dark red. Yeah. And then I can even color in, which I love, is that I've put these little marks up here. And now I can color these little patterns in. Now, will my eye go here a little bit more? Yeah, I'd have to do something to kind of balance it out a little bit. And I can also put this initial color in, which is the scarlet. And then I can use my shadow pencil to maybe, you know, tone down some of it. But do you guys have any? I'm going to go look over chat really quick. It's a great time to ask questions for this exploration that we did today. I'm going to go through and just catch up here on chat because it's really about you guys and my community and connecting with you. Monique says, do you know why we can't buy the new colors in Germany? Here is no shop online. I find it on websites from US and shipping. Yeah, I'm not sure, Monique. I think it's going to take time to get the new colors in Germany. And that would definitely be a message you could send to Golden Art, and maybe they'd get back to you or look on their website. Jonah says, when you create the highlights, do you adjust the darkness like more or less depending on how light you want it? Yeah, I guess that's what I do is like I'm learning to put more dark in areas so it brings out the highlight. So the values can be really important, like especially in between, like right here. I went more dark because I want this head to pop out more. And so when I do that, that's what I'm doing to create the light. Oh, what's this? Me too, Michelle. I think it's humanness. Oh yeah, being human. I totally agree. Exactly. Some I have, I've loved, others not. I now tend not to worry what others like and what makes me happy. That's definitely the route that I would love for you guys to pivot to. Okay. Oh, looks like Luis has a little bit of an answer to that. Yes, it's in our nature to seek approval and people pleasing, especially depending on how you were brought up as a child. I've been reading a lot about that lately. So I think art for me is learning how to shed a lot of the people pleasing and a lot of the validation. Like, I just want to show up and be me, and you know, I don't need validation to feel successful, in the sense of like, if you guys like, you know, some people aren't going to like it. Some people will look at the fish right away and say, I'm out, and not really, you know, connect with the idea that, you know, there could be a deeper lesson in there, and maybe that's not for them right now. I don't believe we miss anything that's meant for us, because we're on these journeys here as humans. And so we're all trying to overcome and help our inner voice serve us instead of work against us. And so that's a huge thing. Oh, that's so sweet, Michelle. I'm glad you have a partner that supports you like that. The inner voice is challenging. I have one too. It keeps trying to push back, hence my comment. It's a nasty wee mite. Yeah, I think overcoming your inner voice and really just saying, I'm playing today. This isn't precious. Learning how to celebrate some moments, like using up your supplies and showing up. Like, if you guys are showing up just like here today, like, you should be really proud of yourself that you showed up creatively just even here today. So it's like talking to ourselves with kindness, you know, looking in the mirror and telling ourselves that we are creatives. We're artists and we're doing a great job. You know, when's the last time you looked in the mirror and you told yourself that you loved yourself or that you thought you were doing a great job today? That's something I try to do for myself, and it's really helped. Let's see here. Let's see. Michelle says, and if he sees me not doing art for a few days, he knows I'm having a moment, and then ask if you're okay. Oh, that's so sweet, Michelle. Francine says, can I borrow that name, Nasty Wee Mite? I love that too. That was really great. Yeah, waiting is hard. Yeah, we can name our inner critic and tell him to bleep off, right? Like, I'm just like so over the inner critic. Michelle says that the name won't be safe. Okay, Susan's got a question before we go here. Are you going to finish this one and put it in the Pastel Insider, or is this just a study for us to learn and play with? That's such a great question, Susan. This is just a study, an exploration, a permission slip to all of you who come upon this live. If you're watching the replay, if you're here right now, this is your permission slip just to play and study. You know, try making your own goldfish. Try practicing maybe some light source. Try adding some squiggle lines on the bottom layers that I did. Really just give yourself permission to play. If I don't flesh this out and finish it, I can erase it. Yeah, it takes a little arm muscle, but you know, this is a permission for all of you guys to just play, do a study. That's what I'm trying to shift these lives into, because I'm already doing the lessons for the Pastel Insider that are full blown. So Susan, hold on. We're going to be doing a full in-depth lesson with the otter, and as a guide of playfulness, a symbolism of playfulness and just letting go. And that is what the vibe is for this week's Pastel Insider lesson and our little exploration here today. It was a great question. When I taught creative writing, I would have my students name their inner critic, draw a picture of it, and it was entertaining and enlightening. That is such a great idea, Francine. Love that so much. Seriously, yeah, that could be a fun thing for the creative collective if you don't mind me doing that. I think that would be fun. So give me a thumbs up, Francine, if you think that's okay. I can take a screenshot of that and do that in the creative collective. I think that would be so much fun. I love that you thought of that too, Michelle. Oh, look, I'm reading more and it says, oh yes, great idea. Oh, I'm so glad you like the little fish. You know, here's the stage, to be quite honest. This is the stage that I feel like, ooh, this could be fun. Like, I didn't flesh it all out. I'm playing around with it. I'm kind of like, there's something about this that I really like. So, you know, on my time, I might play with this and then I can show it to you guys when I finish it. But it's just a lot of fun. Sunny, just watch. Just watch. You're okay. You're fine. You're safe. Sunny always thinks he's got to guard everything. Oh, thank you, Angela Graham. I appreciate that. Welcome. Jonas says, I agree. You shouldn't change your art for others. You shouldn't paint. You should paint what you want to paint. 100%. And there's a lot of people that don't really sit with that perspective and understand, especially, you know, like for me, I'm putting myself out there quite a bit. And so I get a lot of interesting emails. So I have to hold strong to myself. You know, I'm a teacher. I'm putting myself out there. And, you know, this is vulnerable. It isn't always comfortable, but I'm trying to just settle into my own jam, and I will attract the people that are meant to be here, like all of you, who I'm really grateful that you're here today. Louise, thank you so much for the super chat. It says, thank you, Dawn, for all you do for this community. Sending you a chai. Aw, thank you so much. I love that you bought me a chai tea. I'm actually going to coffee. We got a brand new coffee shop in Milwaukee here. I am so excited. It's so cute. We've never had a really cute coffee shop. And my husband and I are going to coffee this Friday, so I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, Francine has a question. Just out of curiosity, Dawn, do you think you will flesh this fish out and finish it, or erase it and chalk it up to playtime? Oh, I think I answered that. I think I'm going to flesh it out and finish it. I think it'd be fun. I want to see where it goes. I've never done anything like this. I just got an intuitive hit that we were going to simplify and do a goldfish, and I was going to find symbolism in it, and we were just going to play. That's where I want that space, that holding of that space. You know what? The bubble can actually represent the holding of space for that exploration. Like that gets me excited. I get goosebumps. Like, that's what symbolism means to me. Like, oh, I didn't realize that this bubble symbolizes holding space for me to play and just explore, and you know, just for the whole idea of what if, and ask what if. If you come away with something, I hope you start asking, well, what if I do this? What if I try this? It's not precious, you guys. You will learn so much, and you will find so much more depth in your art if you start just trusting your inner guide. Like, trust what you're being led to do. Don't lead with fear. Lead with alignment. Align with what feels good to you, and let those voices, those other inner critics, whatever we're going to name them, and let that fall away as much as we can. It'll always be there, and some days it's going to be worse than others. So that's what I'm here to cheer us all on, come together as a collective, and just give ourselves space and hold space for that. Why doesn't your mall stick roll off the board when you remove your hand? Oh, that's a great question, Judith. This is a toy. It was a silicone toy, one that you flip the toy around, like you go back and forth with a stick, like it'd go woo woo, and it had tassels on the end. This is silicone on there, and then I stuck a little eraser with some glassine, and this is one of those kneaded erasers in it, and then I made that for the tip. So if you have just a dowel, you can just use a rubber band with some glassine, and I put the kneaded eraser so it's soft, so it won't bump and go everywhere. But that's a great question, Judith. That's one of the things why I'm so glad you showed up at the live today. Your questions help others more than you know, so I really appreciate that. Oh yeah, and I'm holding it with my hand. Yeah, so I'm holding it like this, you guys. I'm in here, and I'll do it short. So this is how I would be holding it, like this, and working and things like that. It just helps me get up closer a lot with the pencils. Like I would go like this and use my pencils and things like that. Oh, here we go. Here's the question. I've been asked this a lot. Hi, can we crush pastel sticks into powder and use them as PanPastels? I love the emoji that you use, Shiva. And I'm going to tell you no. And I have a reason for that. PanPastel is one of the only brands out there of its kind that really has the pigment density, the high pigment, you know, everything like that. You're basically painting with pigment, and it's so high quality, and it's ultra fine. So what you're doing is, when you're crushing up a stick, is they have extra binders in them, and those binders are going to affect how it looks. You could probably do it to play around with. You can try that, but I also wouldn't necessarily want to do that, because the inexpensive sticks that you might feel comfortable crushing up have a lot of binder in them. So the harder the stick, the more binders in them, and that's the different hardness of all the different sticks. And I'm thinking I'm going to do a stick lesson each month coming up, and I'm going to talk more about sticks. But that is a great question for the group. And when I'm done with my pastel, I put them in between glassine, and I store them in between two pieces of glassine, and I stack them up. And I also do not spray fixative. I have a lot of videos and all of that and about fixative. This paper allows you not to spray fixative, and I protect everything behind glass. I do have lessons that are mixed media, and those are different. I try to call that out really clearly, and so I hope that helps. I just wanted to say a lovely live session and a lovely fish too. Well, thank you, MJ. I really appreciate it. Shiva, what a waste of money it costs to make the sticks. Yeah, it can be a lot. I have lots of broken sticks. I bought them cheap. Yeah, you can play around with it. I'm not going to tell you no, but you're not going to get the same experience. I highly suggest you get some PanPastel and you can tell your own difference. Get a black PanPastel, just a black. I do a lot of lessons and classes. I even have a free one on my website when you sign up for my newsletter for my free PanPastel library that shows you how to do the black, and I have a lot of lives that show how to use just the black PanPastel, so that's a great way. Okay, go Sunny. Millie is chilling and having a siesta, dreaming of playtime. Oh, Loretta. Sunny says hi to Millie. Kathy says, hi, I'm new. Quick question. What is your shadow pencil? That is my 175. It is a Faber-Castell Pitt pencil. It is one of my favorite go-tos. If you're a Pastel Insider member, I have this all in the Getting Started guide. But for you guys here, I talk about my shadow pencil in a lot of my lives. Pam says, your vulnerability is so helpful to see. It is validating and inspiring, and so grateful for you and your lessons and your wisdom. Thank you so much, Pam. I'm really excited to meet you. I know you and Laura in the group are coming to my retreat, my in-person retreat in Connecticut. I look forward to meeting you both. I'm really excited about that. That eye is popping. Literally, it's perfect. How did I get so behind on chat, you guys? This is crazy. I love that you get goosebumps when you're here with us live. Oh, Sunny wants to say hi. We'll read the rest of the comments with Sunny. Come here, Sunny. Let's see. I love that you get goosebumps when you're here with us live, Dawn. Such a great inspirational words today. Love you. Oh, love you too, Francine. You are the sweetest. Judith says, thank you so much, Dawn. I'm new to PanPastel, that I haven't done my first piece yet. My new supplies just arrived this weekend. Oh, that's so exciting. I'm so excited for you, Judith. Shiva says, love your classes, always learning something. Ari says, thank you so much, Dawn. You're welcome. Louise says, thank you. Bye to everyone. Sandy says, I love it. As always, be brave. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is my little, he's my scruffy cute. He's scruffy cute. And when his ears perk up, he's adorable. But he won't do it on camera. Where is the town for your retreat in Connecticut? It is in... Oh my gosh, I have the link on my website. I think it's Glassbury, Connecticut. It's really close to Norwich, Connecticut, where I was born in Norwich, Connecticut. So, all right, you guys, I am going to be signing off today. It's been such a great live. I hope you enjoyed the intention behind the live, and it's just been a great one. I love coming here. It's a highlight of my week. And I just really am grateful that I've shifted into this more exploration. If you want to learn more, tap on that Pastel Insider link. Check it out. There's no commitments. You can try it out for a while, see how you like it. And I'm going to see all of you guys next week. I think I've said everybody to everybody. Take care, Sandy, Michelle, Judith, Loretta, Angela, Susan. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you then. And I'll be showing you also next week what we learned. So you guys take care and have a great rest of your week. And Sunny says goodbye too. All right, bye-bye. You yawning for? You yawning?